Good morning, Empowered Living community. Great to be with you today. We're continuing on our series on this idea of failing to plan. Now, that sounds funny because at the beginning of the year, everybody's got goals. We create a great plan to succeed. And we wouldn't think that we would plan to fail. But you know what? There are things that we habituate to that absolutely lead to failure. One of those is where we seek the opinions of other people and we speak our own opinions as though they are fact or truth. We may have an opinion that, our price is too high or that clients won't buy or nobody will see my value. And oftentimes we have these opinions, but we've never actually created a result to compare it to. And really the opinion that we hold is just a reflection of some limiting held belief that we have. It's not based in fact. We've actually never created a result. It's the same when we go and ask other people what their opinion is on what we should do. Should we do this or should we do this? People are always willing to give you an opinion, but is that opinion based on fact? Is it based on some research that they've done, on a result that they've created? And of course, we talked about the difference between facts and truth. Facts change. You may, as a fact, you may not have the money to invest into your next program. You may not have the money or the time. But that's a fact based on conditions and circumstances as they are. As your awareness expands, as your understanding expands, you begin to attract the new ideas to begin to change and alter and improve the conditions that you're in. And then your facts change. I went from being a high school dropout who believed that, I was dumb and stupid and nobody would ever value me. Nobody would ever hire me. I could never create wealth in my life to earning millions of dollars, building multi-million-dollar companies 6-7 times over, generating nearly $1 billion worth of revenue in the companies that I generated. Think about that. Think about how the facts of my life change. And the truth is that even when I held the opinion that I couldn't do it, and even as I was stuck in the facts, my truth remained the same. The truth is that I had the potential to do it all along. So this is just kind of one of the habituating plans that lead to failure. Another one is that we get boggled down in getting ready. We want to over-prepare. And I get the logical side of your mind that thinks that way, that, we want to be prepared, we want to do it right. But so many people waste so much time getting ready, preparing, that they never actually go out and create a result. You need to have a result in order to improve a result. And so I shared this strategy of, take it to where it's functional. When I've launched many businesses, I wasn't fully ready. And I gave the example of Apple. Apple launches, it's the largest company in the world, nearly $3 trillion in value. And it frequently launches products that it's not ready. They haven't worked out all the kinks and bugs, but they've got it to a level where it's functional, and then they launch. And then they'll improve as they go. Another kind of way that we habituate is that we want to understand how someone else got a result. And we think that is the way to do it. And it's not the way to do it. It's a way to do it, but it's not the way to do it. And so we get hung up on asking people for advice or counsel. And when they give us advice or counsel, we think that we have to be able to match what they did. And oftentimes, the people we're asking had completely different gifts, talents, abilities, and resources than you have. When I first started my business, if I would have went to somebody and asked them, how do I start a commercial cleaning business? They might have said that, I have to have a van, I have to have a truck, I have to have $100,000 in payroll in the bank. I've got to have all this equipment. I didn't have any of that. Now, I'm sure some people have started commercial cleaning companies with all of those resources and assets. I didn't have that. See, that's the way that they did it. The way I did it was I had $200 in a used vacuum cleaner. I went door to door. So you have to find your way. So let's take a look at just a couple of other ones. Number 4 is we think that we can save our way to wealth and riches. And I'm just going to tell you, if you think that the way that you're going to get rich is by beating up or punching down to other people, right? Trying to beat somebody out on their price, or that you're going to save your way to wealth, perish that thought. Yeah, you're not going to. You can never save your way rich. You have to make money. You have to earn your way rich. I know people who will spend all Saturday. I remember when I was struggling, when I was in poverty, I hung around people who would spend a full day clipping out coupons to save 87 cents on a gallon of shampoo, or 15 cents on Colgate toothpaste. If they would have taken that same time and energy and went out and worked that day, or put it towards their purpose, they would have been miles ahead. I know people who have to begin, maybe even in the business that I'm in as a speaker, teacher, and trainer. I know people that have sat down and spent a week or two looking for the best price on a microphone, or the best price on a light kit, or the best price for a teleprompter or a camera. And maybe they saved $25. I remember talking to one person I was mentoring, and they were all proud of themselves that they found a piece of equipment on sale down in Miami. They saved something like $75. And they drove an hour and a half down to Miami, an hour getting lost in Miami, 25 minutes talking to the person, and then the other, hour and a half driving back up. And they saved $75 or $100. What a waste of time and money. I tend to believe that, you want to just get a fair price. If it's in the ballpark, pay it and get started. You will be rewarded for speed. You will be rewarded for being first to market. That is critical. It's so critically important. Don't try to drive a hard bargain. Don't try to beat people up on their price. I have a standing rule. I don't ask people to lower their price. And I also won't lower my price. I think everybody should ask and receive their value. Trying to drive a hard bargain, or people will wait to buy a piece of equipment, or wait to buy it or take a class because maybe there's going to be a sale on it in 90 days. It's a complete waste of money. I remember when I first started in 2006 in the speaking, teaching, training, coaching business, I had written down as one of my goals was that I wanted to be an international speaker, and I wanted to travel all over the United States and all over the world. Well, of course, in order for me to do that, it meant that I would have to fly. And there were opportunities that would come for me that I would be able to have to speak maybe in Arizona or California. But they needed me next week. And see, my old pattern, my old planning was that, you have to buy an airline ticket 30 days in advance, or it's much more expensive. Or, changing the flight. I can remember being in Atlanta and speaking and having an opportunity the next day to do a business meeting. But that would mean that I would have to cancel my flight and change my flight. There was a $125 flight fee. And I wrestled with the decision. Had I gone to the meeting, I could have maybe done a $10,000 deal. But here I was operating on an old plan, an old thinking pattern, that I've got to drive the best bargain, I've got to save money. You will never save yourself to riches. Number 5 is we have a tendency to want to partner with people. We have an idea, somebody else has an idea. We meet them at a seminar, or a workshop, or a conference. And we think that we've got shared values. And the next thing you know, we want to jump in and say, hey, why don't we partner together? A part of that is that there's an insecurity in ourselves in doing it alone. It's a part that kind of feeds to our kind of amygdala part of our brain, our reptilian part of our brain, that, there's safety in numbers. And I can tell you, I've seen lots of people sit down across the table from each other at a coffee shop and flip over the placemat and kind of draw out a business plan, and they go into business together, and they go into business together over a cup of coffee in 15 minutes. And then when things don't work out, it takes them a year and $10,000 worth of legal bills to get out of it. Back in 2020, I sold a business to somebody that I was working with. I had a business partner, and this person had been working closely with my business partner and had a very good understanding of the business, the day-to-day operations, all the numbers. And I'm the seller of the business. And it cost me about $100,000 in legal bills in order for me to sell my business. I don't know what it cost him. I mean, he had to do the due diligence. He had to hire the attorneys and all the accounting firms on a business that he knew every single thing about. It took us nearly 18 months to close the deal. Now, this is where there was no argument. This is where there was no disagreement. Imagine the expense, the agony, the torture, the frustration, the energy that gets wasted when there's a conflict. So I have a very simple rule. I think you should partner up with people. I think you partner up, you collaborate across, and you can mentor around. What does that mean? Well, you want to only partner with people who have exceeding exceptional value in an area that you don't have. You can't hire someone else to just do the task, and it would take you forever to get to that level. As an example, I partnered with John Maxwell. John Maxwell and I were business partners. Well, that's a partner up for Paul. Of course it is. John had written 100 books. He was well known, very successful speaker. In order for me to hire John for all the time that I would need him in order for the business to operate, it would be way too expensive. In order for me to wait until I got to where I had his fame and notoriety and level of success, I mean, he was 35 years ahead of me. I didn't want to wait 35 years. So it would make sense for me to give a percentage of ownership to John. Now, I know what you're thinking. Well, then why would John partner with Paul? Well, because I had a skill, a talent, ability. I had created a business model to certify coaches that nobody else had had. And I had success and results. Now, John had a team of people, but they had never done it. They'd never really run a business. They managed his business, but they weren't the rainmakers. They didn't build it. They didn't grow it from nothing. They could manage something that was already up and running, but they couldn't build it. In order for his team to get up to speed to be able to do it, they would have made millions of dollars worth of mistakes. It would have taken them 5 or 10 years to figure it out. I remember telling John, I know the next 100 decisions you need to make in order for this business to grow. Not only do I know what those decisions are, I know the right decisions to make. And I've got the team, and I'm ready to implement it. And so I brought exceptional and extraordinary value in an area that John didn't have. John brought exceptional, extraordinary value that I didn't have. Now, here's the interesting thing. We were partners for 10 years. We generated hundreds of millions of dollars together. Hundreds of millions of dollars. Never once did John and I argue. Now, the truth is I think I did all the work, right? I ran the day-to-day business operation. I made all the decisions. I was the person that was, up all night worrying whether the sales was going to be, good, whether the marketing was working. I would have to hire and fire. I'd have to plan all the events. But I never went to John and said, hey, John, I don't think you're pulling your weight. And you know why? It's because if you partner up, you don't keep score against each other. Because you understand that person's value. You understand that they have an extraordinary value that you don't have. So although, we would do 2 events a year, and although I may have worked 1,000 hours in between events getting ready for that event, John may have worked 5 or 10. But those 5 or 10 that John brought matched the value that I brought in 1,000. But then again, John never once sat down and questioned how I was running the business. He never stepped in and said, you know what, you can't hire this person, you can't fire this person, you can't make that decision. He never kept score against me. See, if you partner up, you don't keep score against each other. Now, when we collaborate across, this is where we bring equal value. I've collaborated with lots of people in this business where I bring equal value and they bring equal value. And when we collaborate, we have a clear beginning and a clear end. We're going to collaborate on this project. And we both know what the rules are. And there's 2 roles. There's ROLES. What is my role and what is your role in this collaboration? Maybe my role is to do the sales and marketing. Maybe your role is to run the operation and the bookkeeping and those kinds of things. But it's clearly defined lanes. You've got a lane and I've got a lane. If there's 3 of us, everybody has a lane. And we stay in our lane. Those are our roles, ROLES. And then there's rules, RULES. What are the rules of engagement? What are the rules by which we will measure each person pulling their own weight? And you can bet in a collaboration where there are rules and rules, we keep score. We keep score. Because if somebody isn't pulling their weight, that's not fair. Because we all have equal value. We all have equal value. If somebody's not bringing their value to the table, not fair. Going to be a problem. And if there is a problem, the good thing is that there's an end date. There's a defined exit strategy. In a partnership, there's no defined. It either ends because you sell the business, as I did, or both partners decide to walk away, or you end up in court fighting. It's kind of the 3 ways a partnership ends. At least with the collaboration, if things are going sideways, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Let's just finish this one project and then we're done. And we'll never work together again. We know. It's a great idea to collaborate on. Maybe you set an agreement that says, you know what? We'll talk about partnership after we've generated $1 million together. Let's collaborate to where we generated $1 million. And if we can do $1 million together and we like each other, we're going to understand and respect each other's value. And then it would make sense for us to partner. So you partner up, you collaborate across, and then you mentor around. There were times where I mentored John Maxwell. He would be having business dealings and opportunities would come to him and he would ask me to sit in with him at a business meeting. He would ask my advice and counsel and mentoring. And there were times where John mentored me. I would mentor employees, and there's times where people who may be lower than where I am on the financial bracket mentor me. People who are smarter than me mentor me. People who may not have the same intellect that I have mentor me in different areas of my life. The point here is don't jump into partnerships right away. Get rich by yourself first. Believe in yourself first. Give it a go. Because I can tell you, figuring out how you work is a full-time job in the beginning, let alone trying to figure out how somebody else's works. You may fall in love with somebody at the conference and you got along famously. But trust me, when you have to really start to work with them and money starts to matter, it gets complicated. My first cleaning business, I had 2 business partners in the very beginning. When we were making no money, there was never an argument. As soon as that business started generating money, it seemed like there were 3 ways to vacuum the floor, 3 ways to empty the trash can. Everybody had their own opinion. Everybody thought this was the right way. Why? Because now all of a sudden there was something to lose. And so that person that you meet at the conference that you seem to get along with great, remember, that conference has created that environment. That's not the real world when you're in the conference. It's not the real world when you're in the seminar. We've kind of stepped out of our reality and we've kind of gone to this workshop together. We're in a different frame of mind. We're on usually in a workshop or a conference or a seminar, we're on a fertile field of possibility. We're at a different vibrational frequency than we are when we're back home. And the stresses and the pressures are completely different. Let's go one more. Keep it simple. Again, we create all kinds of plans, and most plans have too many steps. I've seen people who've, sent me over, their offer sheet that they wanted me to just take a look at. It's one of the things that I do is help people create what I call a killer offer, right? Create something that is irresistible to the marketplace. And I have a very unique gift and talent in helping people do that. It's one of the greatest things that I think I do and bring value to helping people. And I'll go through their offer. And as I go through kind of the funnel they've built, I've got to click here, I've got to watch this 3-minute video, then I've got to fill out this form, and then I got to wait for the email thing, and then I got to click the link, and can't I just buy? What if I just want to buy? No. There's this whole process that you have to go through. You have to take the assessment, and then you have to have the debrief of the assessment, and then from the debrief of the assessment, then you take the 7-day free trial. And I was working with one person I was mentoring, and he had built this funnel. He had 1,500 people in the funnel, and the funnel was 7 days long. And at the end of 7 days, you could get on this live call. So he had about 75 people who were ready for the live call. And he wasn't going to invite all the other people in the funnel because they hadn't finished the 7-day funnel. And I said, you're doing this live call. If somebody's on day 2 and they're really excited, if they're on day 4, they've gone through day 1 and day 2 and day 3 and day 4, they are a qualified buyer. Get them on the call. Don't overcomplicate things. Follow that, the KISS. Keep it super simple. Those of you who've been part of the EL community or followed my work for any amount of time, there's a book I always want to write. It's Why Are You Making It So Hard for Me to Give You My Money? Why are you making it so hard for me to just do business with you? I recently got 2 puppies, and we're looking for a dog trainer. And ideally what we're doing is we're looking for a place where we can take the dogs and they take them for 2 weeks and they train them and they housebreak them and then they bring them back to you, right? Sounds great to me. So it's not cheap. It's about $3,000 per dog for the 2-week boarding. So I'm looking at spending $6,000. That's a significant investment, $6,000. And so I fill out the form, and the woman says, well, you have to come to our location for a 2 to 3 hour evaluation with each animal. Okay, so she's asking me for 6 hours of my time. Not going to happen. And so I said, first off, she's an hour away, and she wants to do each dog separately. So first off, can't we do this by Zoom? And do you really need to do a 6-hour evaluation? I mean, plus or minus, the price is $3,000. Maybe there's something wrong with one of the dogs and you're going to charge me an extra $500. Just tell me that. Why don't we agree on a price and you say it's plus or minus 10%, plus or minus 20%. I'll agree to it. And if there's something wrong with the dog that you would have caught in your 3-hour evaluation, I'll just give you the extra $500. We'll call it even. Or how about this? How about I'll pay you? How about I'll pay you for the evaluation? Instead of me going out to you twice for 3 hours, how about I give you $500? You come to my house, see both dogs, you spend 3 or 4 hours, you do the evaluation in my house. No. This is her process. Well, her process made her $6,000 poorer. She was so fixed on this is the process. No flexibility. You know, I should have thrown the COVID card at her. I don't play the COVID card. I could have said, well, you know, because of COVID, we can't come. Right? Everybody uses COVID as an excuse. But she is a model that makes it almost impossible to do business with her. And I looked at her website. I really thought she would have been a great trainer. But am I going to drive out there twice, an hour each way? That's 2 hours, 3 hours with each dog. I'm going to 8 hours so she can sell me? No, not going to happen. When was the last time you bought something from you? When was the last time you opted in to your own funnel and went through it and felt the pain? If it's been 90 days, it's too long. We don't plan to fail, but we end up failing because we habituate to old ways of planning. So we've looked at 6 so far. How you doing? How you doing on these 6? Little conviction on some of them? Hey, look, the only reason why I know these absolutely lead to failure, the reason I know I'm right, is because I've got the failure to prove it. I've got the failing results. I can tell you specific stories and how I failed in every single one of these. Don't make the mistakes I made. Let me save you. Let me save you from some of this trouble. And for those of you that have offers, and if you've been marketing your offer and people aren't buying, and you're thinking, you know, the ad is really good. The marketing's really good. The funnel works. People are coming in, maybe. And I think my sales pitch is good. Maybe it's the offer. And if you've never really studied how to create an offer, if you've just kind of winged an offer, if you just kind of looked at what other people did and thought, that's what I'll do, if you didn't make your offer customizable to your value proposition, to the needs of your client, you probably haven't really created a good killer offer. Stay tuned. I'm going to be doing sometime probably in March a workshop on killer offers. So we'll talk more about that later. I'll see you next weekend. Thanks for tuning in. God bless. Be well. Bye-bye.